I'm talking to you because it's an incredible success story. Is there any part of it that's revenge?
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of it is revenge.
I think that should be the clip for the trailer. It's just you. I think a lot of it is revenge. Out on Monday.
Hello, everyone. Listen, I forgot to record the intro for today's guest, so I am instead recording it here on my dog walk with my dog Mildred Barrett. But I thoroughly enjoyed the episode you're about to watch. Today's guest is he's a groundbreaking digital media pioneer, and he is one of the biggest YouTubers on the planet. His stunts have made national headlines, and in this episode we find out how his incredible success is basically revenge for his school days. So I really enjoyed this chat, and it was lovely of him to come in and chat with me. He's a lovely chap, very funny man. You're going to love him. Sit back and enjoy my chat with comedian Max Fosh. Cheers. Oh, and by the way, remember to follow everything, subscribe, keep sharing, leaving 5-star reviews. It means we'll be able to continue to do this, which we really want to. You seem to be enjoying it, so we'd really appreciate that. Okay, ta-da, enjoy.
Let me tell you about the worst day of my life. There you go. You've got your hook.
Got
your hook.
Yeah, you got to teach me all of this. I've actually got you on so that you can teach me to be a YouTuber. That's why you're here. How do I do it? How do I break through?
How to get how good retention, Sean.
Okay,
that's what it's all about. Click-through rate.
What the
hooks?
I feel. What generation are you? You Gen Z?
I am millennial. Just.
But you've got Gen Z vibe.
Oh, yeah. I'm 30, but, I give the idea of a cool, hip 24-year-old.
You do?
Yeah.
Where do people... Who watches your stuff mainly? Gen Z?
You sound like my mum. Who watches your stuff?
But I feel... I was watching all of the videos and I loved them and I really enjoyed them and they're hilarious.
That's good, yeah.
But I also thought this man is making me feel old because I just stand there with a microphone.
Yeah.
And you're doing all these massive,
big stunts,
elaborate, big stunts.
So it genuinely does range massively. When I will have 8 to 10 kids come up and say, "Oh, I watch the videos," but often if they're with parents, which I hope they are, they will say we watch it as a family. So it really ranges. But the stock standard is your privately educated 21-year-old boy at Durham University. Meat and potatoes for me. That is me all over.
Okay, all right.
I can't go into Clute nightclub without, the police being called.
I've not got any of those actually. So hopefully you're bringing them.
Come on,
bringing them.
Come on, Bertie. Come on,
bringing them in.
Bring Rory.
Okay, thank you. And Archie.
Yeah, Archie. A couple of Arches.
Archie's there.
Archie. Yeah, so that's the audience. Yeah, I make videos on the internet for your home counties, boys and girls who went to private school.
But you don't. Yes, but you didn't consciously
set
out. No, right?
No.
Okay. It just sounded then like you sat down and went, right. We're targeting.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Good. All right. And did you set out to be a YouTuber?
No, I for a long time wanted to be a radio presenter. So when I kind of got to uni, I was like, I didn't really know what I was going to do with life, and I'd been to Harrow and do all of that stuff. We'll get to that. But I was like, right, radio seems fun.
I think I say we'll get to that. I think the guest says we'll get to that. But thank you.
It's media training. So I was in the hospital radio, the hit and happening hospital radio scene for 4 years, just trying to be a radio presenter, and that didn't quite work.
Why did you end up at hospital radio? Is that the only way to do that?
Well, there's student radio and hospital radio. Student radio, I looked up all of my heroes on radio.
Who are the heroes?
Terry Wogan, Graham Norton, Greg James, Nick Grimshaw, Scott Mills, Alice Levine. And I saw all of them had kind of come from the worlds of student radio or hospital radio. So I had thought, okay, let's do the steps that you need to do. And then at the end of those steps, I will have a job in radio. Seems pretty simple.
Yes.
And I didn't I kind of did a little bit on student radio, but the hospital radio in Newcastle where I was at uni was very good. It's called Radio Tyneside. It's still going now. Big up Radio Tyneside. I'm not someone who should be saying big up, actually.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah. And so I worked, I kind of did the overnight.
That was a millennial thing.
That was.
Yeah, the millennial in you. You're right, you are a millennial. Big up.
Yeah, big up.
Yeah, okay.
So I worked in hospital radio for 4 years, volunteered, just kind of like doing my own show, started on the like, late night show, and then slowly ended up doing breakfast. And like hospital radio, if you don't know, like broadcasts.
Am I going mad? Because you said it's a really good hospital radio.
Well,
and I don't want to be a snob. It's my ignorance.
yeah.
What's a good hospital radio?
One that's kind of well run. One that is, you know, actually does broadcast. Well,
outside of the hospital.
No, I mean, no. So hospital radio.
Hang on. So you're telling me that there are patients in the hospital just going, I mean, this is a banging radio station.
This is
I'm
really...
so glad I got hit by that car because this is radio.
We can experience Max in the morning. I mean, discharging. So can I have a couple of more days?
Yeah.
No, so it broadcasts to like 6 or 7 of hospitals in the Northeast. And like in hospital, you have like a little controller that has, you know, Radio 1, Radio 4, 4 preset stations, and then a local station, which is often hospital radio.
Right.
And so I would broadcast purely to patients who are kind of getting better. And I was kind of given free rein after a while with my own show, do anything like that. It all nearly came crashing down because I nearly got fired because one day I played the song Highway to Hell by AC/DC.
Right.
Right,
okay.
And the next morning I had like 25 missed calls from the station manager. And you don't see that and think, oh boy, I've got the breakfast show. That was very much a get your ass in here right now. Why did you play Highway to Hell?
Yes, I can see that. Someone's been given a kind of general anaesthetic.
Yes.
Or been put to sleep and then they come out of it and Highway to Hell is playing. That's going to be terrifying. Yeah. How did the surgery go? It's a highway to hell! Or whatever it is. Okay.
So I worked there for 4 years and then I kind of got a couple of opportunities to do demos at BBC Radio Newcastle and Heart Northeast. Now, you can all hear the plumminess of my accent. As you can imagine, I didn't quite get the job in regional radio stations in the Northeast.
So that's all right, but so that's interesting actually. So the kind of like you say, we'll get to your
the plumminess.
Yeah, exactly, the plumminess at school and that. But that kind of worked against you then.
Yeah, in the Northeast.
In the Northeast. So if you go to Harrow, don't then make your way to Newcastle.
Don't try and get onto BBC Radio Newcastle. Okay. That would be my one bit of advice. So I kind of then I didn't really know what to do, and I kind of done a lot of radio stuff, and I was obsessed with this idea about getting an agent. I thought if you get an agent, then you're
How old are you? No.
Then
Sorry.
I was 22.
Okay,
21, 22.
21, 22, thinking about getting an agent. I just want to ask you quickly, what were the demos? Are you given, when you make a demo, so this is essentially a pilot for a radio show, you go, look, I want to be on your radio, and this is what my show will be like. So you make a kind of
You make like a 5-minute sizzle reel of like the segments that you've done.
And these segments,
right,
so this is the I sound so mad. I sound like I've never listened to the radio before, but I didn't grow up in a house where we had the radio on. The radio's like this completely different world to me that I don't quite understand. The segments, you mean when they come up with games?
Yeah, like games, bits, stories.
Right.
I had a game at uni which I slightly nicked from somebody else on another student radio, but I heard it, thought that's a really fun game, which is I would go out onto campus of uni wearing a microphone and I'd walk up to someone and see how long it would take for me to convince them that we'd met at a club in the night before. So I'd go up to someone
That's very
oh my God, hi. Like, God, great to see you again. No one I knew. And
that's fantastic.
It'd be a game to see how long it would take for them to go, oh yeah, good to see you. That was one of the games that I put within a 5-minute segment, sent off to the radio stations. I then was invited to come and do a practice show, which is then they give you an hour, and you, as if it's live, and then after that they kind of said that I didn't align with the regionality of the station,
the values.
So yeah, the radio dream was crushed.
Yes, and it's interesting that game that you just described, that you admittedly, or bravely, admitted to stealing.
Yeah.
was kind of in the vein of what you now do.
Yeah,
that is kind of a
silliness, fun, a little bit pranky. It's japes, basically japes.
Japes.
Lots
are you
of
using
japes.
japes instead of? Are you anti the word prank?
I hate the word prank.
Right. Okay. Why is what? Do you know what? I was watching some of the videos over the week, and as I say, loving the videos, and I did think when I was watching them, I thought, I bet he hates the word prank.
I hate the word prank.
Why?
Because prank, like the word prank, it's like, Wales, you've been pranked, zany. Blah, blah, blah. It like, and also it just conjures up ideas of like a prank inherently means that somebody is the butt of a prank, is on the other end of a prank.
Here we go.
And so it's a lot of punching down. You hear a prank and you think punching down.
Yes.
The videos that I make, I'm either the person who is the one who's kind of getting the butt of the joke.
Yes.
Or it's somebody who is like, it's real punching up vibes. So think of prank, and on YouTube, if you think of a YouTube prankster, you think of Logan Paul. Do you know who Logan Paul is?
Yeah, but really, I only know, this is terrible, I only know who he is because of wrestling.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
So he...
Or was that his brother?
No, his brother's the boxer.
Yes.
But Logan Paul is a very polemic figure
yes.
in YouTube. And
no, I do know. Yeah, yes.
Japanese forest,
but
suicide
please
forest
do feel
film.
free to condescend.
No,
and patronise because I need that. Don't now feel like you won't need to do that.
Okay, fine.
Keep doing that.
Either way, YouTube prankster, not a good thing to be hanging your whole career on.
Ah,
so
right.
I try. But the difficult thing is, Sean, if I meet someone like, oh, what do you do? I'm a YouTuber. They say, oh, what kind of videos do you
say
make?
that? You say I'm a YouTuber?
I say I'm a YouTuber. Well, it depends who I'm talking to. If it's someone over the age of 35, I'll say a comedian.
So I'm going to ask you, what do you do?
Oh, how old are you?
I'm 39.
YouTuber. But I feel like you're young, hip and cool.
What?
I feel like you could have a skateboard
Well, I think we can end the interview now. I think I've got what I wanted out of this. Thank you very much.
You give me the vibes of the Steve Buscemi meme of, well, hello, fellow kids. Slug over the shoulder.
I think I'm going to blush. Oh my
but
God,
no, but Sean,
you're
in the entertainment industry. You understand, but like
showbiz, baby.
Yeah, showbiz.
Yeah,
showbiz toots. But if it's someone, let's say over 40 who works in finance, I'll go comedian. But that is a problem because they're like, right, give us a joke then. Which is always tricky.
Yes.
So
that's tricky for anyone. I mean, no one wants to be in that situation.
What do you say in that when someone asks that question?
I say no.
Does that normally get a laugh?
No, it doesn't.
So you just absolutely take the wheel of that conversation and just go, yeah, just kill it.
It's what AirPods were invented for. Get in the cab. AirPod, look at phone, go.
Difficult at a drinks party, though.
Yes, very difficult at a drinks party. Okay, so yes, let's rewind. See how you got to Pro Japester.
Pro Japester. So the radio stuff wasn't really going anywhere.
Well, no, I'm going to take you further back. So I'm going to take you back to the age of 7.
Oh gosh, yeah.
You might know this quote, Aristotle.
Yep. Yes.
Okay. Aristotle says, give me a child until the age of 7 and I will show you the foundations of the man.
I'm so glad the second half of that sentence, that's the quote.
Yeah. It was originally, give me a child until the age of 7, please. And we didn't go with that one. So we've changed it. We've modified it to show you the foundations of the... He'll show you the foundations of the man. So Aristotle gets you at 7.
Yeah.
Is he able to evaluate that 7-year-old Max Fosh and then
at that point I would
show us this?
If he hadn't had me until 9, then we're cooking.
Okay.
Because then I was a child of divorce. Yeah. Now we're getting deep.
This is where you're born. This is where you're really made. Born what year?
95.
95. Born 95.
2004.
Made in 2004.
Year of hard knocks that. Gramps died and parents split up. Good year that. Good year. Good vintage. So no, would I be...
You can do 9, by the way.
We can do... No, let's do 7. Let's do 7. I was at school, like kind of growing up, I was heading... Well, first of all...
Very good school.
Very good school. Very good school. I grew up in Holland Park, Notting Hill, right?
Very nice.
If you've seen the film Notting Hill,
yes,
when Hugh Grant goes over the garden gate and goes whoopsie daisy,
yeah, I know
that
gate.
is my garden gate.
That's your. I know that gate. I walk past that a lot.
Yeah.
When I visit.
Yes. The set of Notting Hill.
Yeah.
What are you doing this weekend? Sure. Yeah, just back to the
looking
sets.
for Julia Roberts.
Set
Where's
visit
Julia
again.
Roberts? She's got to be.
So yeah, that kind of gives you an idea. I had silver spoon, knife, fork, and ladle, spatula, everything.
Yeah, whole set. Potato peeler.
So absolutely.
Yeah.
If the au pair had washed it. So I had I grew up in Holland Park, Notting Hill, and I went to a very good school. I went to a school called Arnold House, which was
I've heard of that.
It's in St John's Wood, and it was in North London. I don't know why I was sent to that school, but it had a lot of kind of Jewish families sent their kids to Arnold House. So I would go.
Jewish?
No, I would go to so many bar mitzvahs. The 07-08 season of bar mitzvahs was amazing. And because it was a very good school, there were a lot of kind of very wealthy families.
Yes.
And it's obviously a very big deal in kind of Jewish culture, the bar mitzvah. So these parents would spend so much money on these bar mitzvahs. And the way that they would kind of like spend that money is by having like appearances from celebrities of the time. Now, one of the people who came to perform at my friend's bar mitzvah was Cascada, the EDM DJ and performer.
Oh.
So I was at a bar mitzvah in 2008 at 13, not having gone through puberty, but half of my classmates had.
Right.
With Cascada on the stage, just because every time we touch, and 13-year-old boys don't know what to do. Half of them like had the horn because they were going through puberty. The other half were like squeaky voice. I don't know what's going on. And so anyway, that was the bar mitzvah season.
Oh my God! So you didn't do McDonald's with a Ronald McDonald?
No,
balloons.
No,
being
we
made
had.
no, okay,
we had. Who did we have come do my birthday parties? Twizzly Pete. It's genuinely
Twizzly Pete.
Twizzly Pete. He did all the birthday parties in the local area. I don't know whether there's been any allegations of him afterwards.
Can you hook me up with Twizzly Pete? Just to have a contact? I've got 2 kids now. I'll see if I can get Twiddly Pete in.
We'll do
Maybe you're not recommending Twiddly Pete.
I don't think I'm recommending Twizzly Pete.
Twizzly Pete. Twiddly. Okay.
I actually can't remember.
Right.
So yes, silver spoon in the mouth.
Can I ask the silver spoon in the mouth?
Yeah.
That perception of the public school boy. Do you kind of recognise what that is as you get older?
Yeah.
Are you aware of it at the time? I've always wondered this. Are you aware that the rest of the world isn't, or the country or whatever in London isn't being kind of educated that way?
Yes, absolutely. It's well, I mean, I was at least anyway. And I guess we will like there was definitely a point when I went to secondary school at Harrow, which is, one of the finest private boarding school establishments in the country.
Boarding school.
Oh yeah, boarding school, big time.
Well, finish what you're saying, and then I need to hear about boarding school.
So I kind of I grew up in a house that, I was a lovely house, a communal garden, I played lots of like football with the guys in the garden, whoopsie daisy, get back you're not
so
filming.
These houses, so in Notting Hill, I know it.
It's kind of big terrace houses.
And then the back gardens, instead of there being, it's just one park.
You have your
big
own one. You've got your own park.
Yeah.
So, I was playing lots of football, cricket with, friends on the garden, and it was very idyllic and wonderful.
It sounds wholesome.
It was very wholesome. And so it was never, my parents did a very good job at you've got your pocket money of like £2.50 a week. Like it was never a case. It was just like, I don't remember it being like flash, here we go. You got it was a pretty modest, banged up BMW is what we drove to school.
Right. Yeah.
It wasn't particularly flash. And so I don't think I was conscious of the idea of difference between private school and state school. I thought just everybody went to school. So
yeah.
I wasn't
absolutely.
Yeah.
Why would you be any other way?
Yeah. But then when I kind of got to 13, that's when the public school boys, well, the persona of, what you imagine of like a public school boy, that's when I started to see that. And if anything, I really kind of rallied against that, mainly because I initially didn't have a great time at school.
Why is that?
It's incredibly, like, you're 13, you go away to boarding school, so you leave home at 13, you get put in a boarding house which has got 75 boys aged between 13 and 18 who are all living in rooms next to each other. And to understand the kind of the social hierarchy and the way that works is very, very complicated for a 13-year-old, in my opinion, to work out. So suddenly I went to school and you're suddenly confronted with all sorts of kind of social rules about living in a boarding house, which I had not really been conditioned to when I was back home. So, you know, you go and I was always taught, right, go home, you do your homework on time, and then that's all great. But then suddenly I was at school and I would like time to give the homework in. And I was like, sir, you haven't taken the homework in, which obviously is a very unpopular thing to do. So I learned very quickly as a 13-year-old boy what you do and what you don't do within this confines.
Oh, that's such a sweet kind of image that you've given us.
Yeah, I was goody two shoes the whole way. I want to make sure I do my best. My dad was a professional sportsman. He played cricket.
So there's a competitive nature there.
There's a real competitive nature there.
Do you think that's kind of genetic, or do you kind of get that from being with your dad, watching him compete?
Like he retired very early, so he played cricket for Essex at the age of 19, and then he retired at the age of 21 because he realised this was cricket in the 70s. He was like, I don't think this is where my future is. There's not much money in this sport. Like long term, I want to go into business, and so he went into business and kind of made money in the city. But I then grew up playing.
That's kind of like the opposite of a feel-good Hollywood film story, isn't it? He actually quit his dream to just earn loads of money.
Yeah.
Right. How inspiring.
And you can too.
Yeah, exactly. But do you know what? On a nicer point of that would be actually the consequence of that is that you then, let's call it a dream. I always think these things are when you end up doing something like some sort of performance. There, you know, that it's quite amazing to have. You know, you wanted to go to hospital radio and now you're this huge YouTuber. There, you know, you can fit that into kind of the dream story.
Yeah.
So he's done that, and then his son has gone off and actually been able to do that. So there is a positive knock-on effect.
Yeah, and like I went to school being very competitive, wanted to play cricket. I wanted to be, probably, if you asked me the question, what did I want to be when I was younger, it would be a sportsman, like a cricketer, like do what dad did.
Well, which one?
Any sport, but I was probably the best at cricket.
So you're sporty?
Yeah, I was sporty growing up.
You're still sporty?
No, not really. I don't play very much or at all.
All right.
So I kind of got to boarding school and it was a case of like...
Can I ask, sorry, and it's a bit of a cliche, but I still think it's interesting for us who didn't go to boarding school. Yeah. What we all imagine is that kind of goodbye, you know, and being taken to boarding school. Is that heartbreaking, or was it heartbreaking for you?
Yeah, it was. That is really. It is genuinely like that. Or was for me. Like, you know, you get dropped off at school on a Sunday night at 8 o'clock, and
you know what's going on.
You know what's going on, but you know there's a lot of tears. So suddenly you've been talking. Oh, I'm going to school. I'm going to boarding school. Isn't this exciting? Then you get there, and all your bags are in this new room, this completely foreign world, and mum leaves, and you're like, whoa, I literally just turned 13. What is going on here?
Wow.
So it was quite affronting for like a 13-year-old me. But you learn very quickly, you know, okay, this is the world you're in. And you spent 3 weeks at a time at school, and then you'd go home for a weekend, and then another 3 weeks, and then you have half term. So it's done in kind of 3-week blocks.
Yeah.
So 3 weeks, home for a weekend, 3 weeks, half term, 3 weeks, home for the weekend, 3 weeks, end of term.
Right.
So, like,
are you just desperately eyeing that going home?
Oh, I was, yeah, because the first 3 or 4 years, I probably did struggle. I did struggle at school, just from didn't really know who I was or what I wanted to kind of do, and I didn't hugely get on with the structure of the kind of the public school, boarding school environment.
What was it about it that you didn't get on with?
I think the other boys. I didn't hugely assimilate with, and that was definitely from my perspective. That I wasn't, you know, I don't have any friends from Harrow now. I don't
That's
see
huge, and that is huge.
I don't
I think.
see any. And as I got older, to the point about the public school boy,
Yeah.
the stereotypical public school boy, I kind of realized at the age of 16, I don't really like any of you. I don't.
What was it? You're going to, of course, you're going to have to generalize, but what was that thing that you put them all in the same bag? And why didn't you, of all of the people, and at that age, you know, there is that sense of not fitting in, and that a lot of people go through. What was it for you? Why didn't you fit in with them? Because you were on paper.
Yeah,
I'm sure I might say you're
part of the
there.
gang. Part of the gang.
Absolutely. So what was that? That feeling of disconnect.
A lot of it was probably to do with me. I wanted to be one of the sporty guys, but I also love drama. So I'm
Where did that
basically
come from?
Troy Bolton. That was me.
Yeah. Where did the drama thing come from?
I just was as a show off. Just always been a show off, as all kind of like performers probably are. It comes from an element of wanting to be on stage and be seen and look at me, look at me, look at me.
Were you watching films with a kind of different eye of, I want to do that, as opposed to what most people do, even kids and young people, as the film ends and they go, that was fun.
Yeah.
But you're
I mean,
going,
I remember
how do
watching
I do
I watched Jack D at the Hammersmith Apollo in 2001, his DVD of Jack Smith at the Hammersmith Apollo, and I would watch it.
You said Jack Smith?
Jack D at the Hammersmith Apollo, 2001 recording. I would watch that special every Sunday before I went to school. Because it was something that it was like a comfort thing. I found it hilarious, even at the age of like 13, 14. And I guess it was that performance element that I wanted to do. I was like, that looks amazing. That looks so much fun.
Wow.
So I was very into drama, and I didn't
do you know I do a podcast with Jack?
Do you?
I do a podcast with Jack D called Oh My Dog. And I'm seeing Jack tomorrow and I'll pass that on. That's lovely. He'll love that.
He probably, if I had to choose a comedy icon hero, it would be Jack D, because I remember he was doing texting gags.
I know the show. I went to see the very same show.
And there was a line in it when someone texted in and said, "Why does it look like a little tractor has driven down your tie?"
He had a red tie,
and a red tie and a black
little
strip.
black, and there was a yellow dot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember watching it. I thought it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. And so I'd watch this DVD before I went back to school.
This is so lovely.
And when I got to school, it was like, right, I want to perform. And so I wasn't very, self-conscious. At the age of 13, like, oh, I want to be the boy part. I was at an all-boys boarding school. So whenever there was a school play that came up, I would basically be the only one who would audition for the girl. So I would always be the girl part in school plays, house plays, everything.
Okay.
Musicals. So much so that I didn't play a male part in any amateur dramatics until I was 22. The closest I got was I was Toad in Wind in the Willows.
You're so woke. Wokey. Didn't even play the part of his own gender. No, that's amazing. That sounds like
me and Eddie Redmayne. Yeah, we'll play the girl parts.
But that's right. So, I mean, you can still, even then, you're being playful.
Yes,
you're being,
I didn't mind having a wig, and this is classic schoolboys, like Fosh, you're fit as a girl. I don't really know what that means, but I remember just being told that and being like, thank you. Thank you so much.
Take it.
Really
Honestly.
would take it.
Yeah.
It was at this point kind of I think my entire family thought at this point that I was gay. And I would get that a lot at school. You're like,
This is, by the way, this is under the umbrella of bullying.
Oh, big time.
Because you've not used that word.
Because I don't think it's a hugely good, I don't want to be sat on a podcast and say, Harrow School was the worst place ever because I don't want to say it because it was my experience. And I know that there are people who were at boarding school around the same time who love their time at private school, Harrow, whatever.
Absolutely. And I don't think from hearing you say that, I don't think anyone passes judgment on the school. It's actually about the individual's life.
Yeah.
Journey or what have you. Did that make you feel like, you talk about not fitting in. Is it down to that?
I guess so. And I probably didn't help myself. I was probably, I was the kid at the beginning who would say you haven't collected in the homework, which...
Well, just a really well-behaved, nice child. Okay, let's get him.
Yeah. I mean, there was some pretty inventive quote unquote, if you want to call it, which I'm not, there was some quite inventive bullying going on at Harrow. So it's not just like, I'll biff you on the nose.
Okay.
It was, I think the one of the worst things that happened, we were going away for the weekend away, the weekend where we could go home. And I left at a point. Anyway, a boy went into my room, and in every room there was a desktop computer for you to do your homework. And he got some milk and poured it behind the desktop computer into the carpet, rubbed it in, and then over the weekend, the heat from the desktop computer heated up and got it to curdle into the carpet, which meant when I got back to my room, just my room absolutely stunk, and you could not get rid of the smell.
Did you know what had happened?
Eventually, after like a day, I was like, it stinks in here. I was like,
I love that you noticed in a day. That would have taken me about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I think it smells.
It was a little bit like that. I was like, oh, teenagers are horrid. And then eventually I was like, no, and then I basically was a sniffer dog. And then got on my literally on all fours, sniffing.
Tail wagging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Housemaster came in. That didn't happen.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And then eventually kind of looked, and then I don't know why, the bully, I still to this day don't know who did it. They left the milk carton in the back of the fridge on the floor, like as a calling card.
Oh. Right.
They also did something called bed flipping. This was quite weird. So in the middle of the night, you would sneak into somebody's room whilst they were asleep, and 3 or 4 of you would put your hands underneath the mattress and then just flip you into the wall. So you'd often
the wall bit. I was enjoying that a bit too much until the wall bit.
Boys broke their noses. Yeah. I also got a reprieve from being bullied by some members of the boarding house because, and I quote, "Fosh, your sister is fit."
Oh.
So thank you, Tally.
Oh, yes. No, thank you, Tally. Well done.
Yeah. Tally saved my bacon.
Max.
Yeah.
All right. So did this give you, I've not asked anyone
It gave me a
before.
hatred of public school boys. That's what it did.
Yes. Right. Did it give you, obviously you've gone on to do incredible things. I'm talking to you because it's an incredible success story being a YouTuber. You've taken the medium when it's just taking off. You've been part of that.
Yeah.
You've been part of that rise.
Yeah.
Is there any part of this? This is a tough question to answer, I think. Is there any part of it that's revenge? When you're going,
absolutely
right, okay,
absolutely. I was at a charity golf day about 6 months ago, and I turned up, very fancy schmancy, and I turned up, and on the first tee, the guy who was literally reading out the names of when people used to tee off was someone that I went to school with, and I kind of just sat there thinking, I felt so smug. I felt so smug, and it was a lot
That's
of it.
lovely.
A lot of it is revenge.
I think that should be the clip for the trailer. It's just I think a lot of it is revenge. Out on Monday.
The comments as well, being like, wow, the guy got revenge on a guy at a charity golf day for pouring milk behind his computer. Who's buying the film rights to that?
But it's I don't know, it's a happy ending. It's the ending to the film.
Yeah.
But it was a motivator then. It's a kind of it's a gentler way of putting it.
The biggest motivator that I had at school was, as I said, my dad played cricket.
Yes.
And at Harrow, there is an annual cricket match against Eton College. So Harrow versus Eton. And I think it's the second or third oldest sports fixture in the world.
What's
right?
the first, Is it the Cambridge?
Might be. It might probably
race
the
or
Cambridge
something?
boat race. Either way. And it's played, this cricket match, at Lord's, the home of cricket, the Wembley Stadium of the cricket world. And my grandfather had played in that match. My uncle had played in that match. My dad had played in that match. I was 16 and I was in the C team. I thought, And it'd been like the biggest motivator was like, I need to play in this match. Like, it is something that is like a family tradition.
Yeah.
And so one winter, I decided I'm going to train every day. I'm going to go down to the cricket nets and bowl and play as much as I can. And I went every single day for about 4 or 5 months. I think eventually the coach, the first team coach, saw this and very much took pity on me and invited me to pre-season training for the first time, literally just as a dog's body. I was invited to play in a game. At the end, I got man of the match, and then was in the first 11 and played in the match. Now, this is the most out of touch story, but it taught me.
No, it's amazing.
It really taught me. Okay, if you really want something, you can just if you dedicate work every single day and do something incrementally, you will get there. And that was what I took into university and hospital radio, which is like, okay, I know how to get there. It's go and work and volunteer for 3.5, 4 years in hospital radio. Okay, I can do that. That's no problem. So that was the biggest lesson I learned from Harrow, was that perseverance of, if you do a thing over and over and over again, you will eventually, or hopefully, get there. And I had all of the privilege, I didn't need to have a second job at university. I knew that I wasn't going to go hungry if it didn't work out. So I thought, I need to make the most of this opportunity right now, because if I don't, it's such a waste. So that was why at university I was like, I'm just going to dedicate a lot of time to be in hospital radio or learn my craft in another medium.
Is that something is fascinating? And is that something that is just now second nature to you? Do you still have to remind yourself?
No, it is still. And so in 2019, I had an audience online of 300,000-400,000. I thought, could I sell T-shirts?
Is that YouTube subscribers?
Yes, YouTube subscribers.
Subscribers. God, that's
about 200,000 or 300,000 YouTubes in 2019, and I was like, what do I want to do? And I was like, I'd love to do a show. I'd love to stand on stage.
You've not done a show at this point?
At this point, I haven't done a show. I then thought, okay, I'd love to do, not necessarily stand up, but I want to learn about how to go on stage and tell jokes. And so then I did, a numerous kind of open mic nights. You
did the open mic circuit?
I did. Not. I wouldn't say circuit. I did enough for me to understand. Okay, I've done the bit where this is horrible, but I knew I was always going to be performing to my audience.
Yes.
So you definitely didn't do as near as much as I probably should have. But I knew that, okay, I need to dedicate time to this, time on stage. I think Russell Howard made a really good. I was listening to a podcast that he did years ago, and he was saying, like, it's like going to work on the first day on Monday morning. You don't know what you're doing in an office job, but by Friday afternoon, you understand the way it works and who everybody is, what your role is. Stand-up's exactly the same, but you only spend 5 minutes at a time at work. So it takes ages for you to be comfortable enough to kind of stand on stage and feel comfortable and know what you're doing.
Did drama help? Did
drama help?
Doing drama, all those those parts that you played where you're the girl. And...
trying to the japes at university, the all of that helped to understand, and I had a very clear framework as to what the stuff was, which was, I already make silly fun things online.
Yes.
Let me tell people about the behind the scenes and write things that are associated with being a YouTuber. So it was very clear that I understood exactly, comics often like, what's my thing? I very, very early on knew, okay, it's just going to be about YouTube and the silliness I get up to on YouTube, and poshness initially, because when I first started making videos, it was all you're posh, you're posh, you're posh.
In the comments.
And also the videos that I was making, I started out interviewing students on nights out in Newcastle, and then one really popped off where I went to the Royal Agricultural University in Cirencester, which is basically full of like posh farmers.
I know it.
And they do like a ball every year, and I snuck into the ball.
Oh wow.
And I interviewed people, and like that took off that video, because everybody loved watching posh people have the piss taken out of them by somebody who was posh. And it also became very odd. Posh people also loved being ripped to shreds by another posh person. I wouldn't say I was ripping them to shreds. It was all very gentle.
Yeah. Okay. So where does comedy... You're doing the play, and you're playing, and you've watched Jack D.
I've watched a lot of Jack D. On my 18th birthday, I went to the Comedy Store and watched the Comedy Store players. Richard Vranch, Josie Lawrence, Lee Simpson. Like those guys were my absolute heroes. Because
how did you come to know them?
How
did you? Okay, you watched Jack D.
Yeah.
Did you find stand up yourself, or is this something that you watched with mum and dad?
I watched it with mum. Dad was not in the same house. Watched it with mum. The divorce.
9?
9.
It was 9.
2004. Great year. So I watched a lot of stand up with mum, Jack D, Eddie Izzard, those two mainly when I was younger. But it was never like, I want to do that.
Right.
Because I don't know why, but I was like, I really enjoy this. And then for my 18th birthday, someone got me a voucher to go to the Comedy Store because obviously it's 18 plus.
Yeah.
And I was so excited to go. And it was a Sunday night or a Wednesday night, and it was the improv night. And so
yeah, I think they used to do both those days.
Wednesday and Sundays. And so I watched that, and I was just like, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen.
It's incredible.
It's unbelievable. And so like having a few like icons within that world of comedy. Again, I didn't want to be a stand-up comedian.
So you watched the Comedy Store Players. It didn't occur to you at the age of 18 that I
could do that.
Okay.
And so then when I had a YouTube audience, I had an audience ready-made. I was like, what could I do? Oh, I could try and make them laugh. So it was a very odd way of going about it, which was that I was initially making ostensibly a product for an audience. It was basically merch. But I was very conscious that you can't just go out and do this thing. You need to spend a lot of time working on it. I also was helped by the fact that I had people who were in the industry who were helping me. So I got a director because I like before I'd really done, I'd done like 5 or 10 like open mic nights. Mm-hmm. And then I knew I wanted to do a show. What was the
shtick at the open mic nights? Just 5 minutes on being posh?
5 minutes on boarding school.
But you're not relying on boarding school. You're not relying on the videos, projection.
At that point, none of that. I was like, I want to have the time where you stand there and it's bloody like tough and it's nobody knows you. Even though the MC was like, next up we've got a YouTube sensation. And it's God,
no one wants that.
Please don't say that.
No. That's probably turning most people against you in the room, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's something kind of, maybe it's an age thing, but there's something probably quite, strangely unlikable about that.
Very much so.
But I mean, the same thing applies in stand-up. When I first started, I don't really want to talk about me. I'm here to talk about you. But just to relate, when I was in my early 20s, when I was on telly, and then I noticed that MCs would then start kind of reeling off credits, which they knew was not going to be helpful to the young kid with long hair.
Was that a power thing? Power play thing?
I think it's what it always is jealousy.
Yeah.
I think it just always comes down to that. Now, how old were you when you were doing these gigs?
Oh, this was 2019, so I was 24.
Blimey. Okay, so it's still.
So I did a couple of open mic nights, died on my ass, which I wanted to do. I was there to die on my ass. I wasn't going in there to be like, right, they haven't seen this punchy bit of material. And it was then I knew I wanted to do a show. I got linked up with a fantastic director.
Why did you know to use a director?
At this point, my agent, which I had eventually got, who works in the comedy world. Yes. She's a comedy agent. She said, quite rightly, she was like, you need someone to really help you with this. Yeah. And I was like, I understand that. So she coupled me up with an amazing director who I still work with and has worked with for the last 6 or 7 years. And we then crafted a show together.
Okay.
He had worked in comedy for a long time, so he understood how it all worked. We had lots of days of just kind of like surgery days. Okay, what do you want to say? What are the different bits? And then he would send me out with 5-10 minutes I would go and do 5-10 minutes at a time. But that's when it was all screen based. It was all at this point, because I knew it was for a YouTube audience.
Yeah.
I was like, I knew the people who were going to come in to watch were YouTube fans. So if I come out there and do 10 minutes about boarding school, they're like, what? So I knew it was going to be like, you've seen this thing, but let me tell you what also happened when I filmed this thing.
Okay.
I will never call myself a stand-up. I will call myself a comedian.
Okay.
Because I think there's a distinction.
I think you're allowed, but I know what you mean.
I don't think I can go to Top Secret and do a 10 because I need the frills, I need the clicker, and I need the screen. But if I'm doing a do, like an awards do, I can do 20 minutes.
Well, I think you're being modest. I think with what we've learned from you is that if you had to do that for some reason, that you would persist, which is a word that you've used, persistence, you would be able to do that. And you're clearly a funny man. And like you say, you're a comedian. Mm. But I do want to just touch on I sound absolutely ridiculous saying new media. Is it new media? YouTube, is that new media?
pretty new.
But I mean, you're one of the first people, in my mind, certainly, and a lot of the people watching, to blow up on that.
Mm.
How aware are you? And this is why I become fascinated, and this is where I feel like an old man, where I just can't really get my head around it. How aware of you are you at a young age of the potential of things
Not
like
at all.
YouTube? Okay.
Not at all.
Okay.
And it's not. I think it's important. Like the same with any industry, right? You think, you start with it being like, I mean, I don't know. Did you start there being like, there's massive potential here for me to be huge?
No, I didn't. All I wanted to do was be a stand-up comedian.
Great.
But it was quite. I started stand-up at the Boom, just coincidentally.
Yeah.
McIntyre had done Live at the Apollo.
Yeah.
Live at the Apollo was happening. There was your Frankie Boyles, your Jimmy Carrs, Michael, and various other names that aren't coming to me now. Al Murray, whatever, whoever it is. It's this giant boom. I started at that point.
Perfect.
So suddenly, being this kid that just dreamed of being a stand-up, actually, when you started, it was like, oh, but there is this kind of
route.
There is one that you could fantasize about, I would say. You weren't fantasizing about being a YouTuber.
I loved making videos as well. I realized I loved telling a story and making people laugh through a video.
But the story bit there, sorry to stop you on this, because I'm so interested in this, with what you do, because there's a filmmaking aspect to it. There's a massive part of what you've done, which you've not mentioned until now.
Yeah.
Maybe I've just not taken you there. But are you watching documentaries? Are you watching things on television and you go, I want to do something like that?
I'm watching a lot of YouTube. But not just like, hey, welcome back to the vlog. I'm going to go down to the shops. Although that is very interesting from a storytelling perspective as it is.
Yes.
I'm watching a lot of YouTube and identifying, okay, they've done this. They're doing this. So we have in the office with the team, we've got a storytelling structure on the wall. And be like, right, what's pinch one in the edit? We're like, right, what's pinch one?
Yes. Yeah.
So we filmed a video very recently where I wanted to cook a meal using lightning. And we went to this lab in, as I said, japes.
That's one way to do it when you've had a power cut.
Yeah.
What are we going to do? Well, just cook it on lightning.
Sean, you mentioned, so we went to Spain,
Sure.
they had a lightning lab. A university was happy they generate bolts of electricity and we're like, right, could we put a stake underneath it? They're like, yes, of course. So we turned up Monday. Our appointment with the lab was at 2 p.m. We went to the local supermarket to get the ingredients. At 1:30 was the Spanish blackouts.
What?
Across the entire country, the biggest power cut they'd seen in 40 years. We were there for electricity. And so we're editing this video now. We're like, amazing. Pinch one. You've turned up to Spain. No electricity. So
you turned up to Spain for electricity.
Specifically,
an entire country.
Specifically for high voltage electricity. And the entire country going, no, not today.
That's phenomenal.
So we're seeing that during the filming. You're like, fucking get in. We've got pinch point one.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit like, I remember they used to say on Top Gear, I'm going to butcher the expression. They're like, it's not real, but it's true. So
very nice.
They're kind of like what their reactions are true, but they've manufactured it into different ways. Anyway, so it is structured in that way. I'm always conscious of telling stories when it comes to YouTube. So yes, I'm very, very conscious of storytelling and how the best way to do it.
And you picked that up through just being a teenager at the time where suddenly this is how young people were consuming programming.
Yeah. And also I was like, I want to make things that I want to watch. That was my mantra when I started, is like, what do I want to watch? At the age of like 19, when I was doing the man on the street stuff, it was students making themselves look silly whilst pissed. I was like, I'd love watching these videos. I'm going to make my own. So I made loads of them. And then you learn a little bit about, okay, you need the hook. You need something funny at the beginning of it because the barrier to exit is so small. So you need to make someone laugh immediately.
Yes.
When you've got something online. And so over time, I've been doing this now for 8 years, learning a lot about how to tell a story on the internet, online. So yeah, big into like storytelling and hopefully in the future, could I make TVs or movies or whatever? But we're already seeing it. Creators online are making films that are doing incredibly well, winning awards, because they understand how to tell stories to young people.
This show, just this talking to people about their upbringing and making the connection between then and now. I pitched over 10 years ago, easily over 10 years ago. This is called Class Clown. It was the picture was called Naughty Kids for whatever reason, and I went to all the radio stations, and they all said no. It's the amazing thing about now, isn't it? Is that exact thing of I want to make what I want to watch.
Yeah, there's no permission, and that's the best thing about YouTube. It's like you do not. The only thing that's stopping me from making something is whether we've got the budget or whether we can do it.
Yes. Well, look, this has been absolutely fascinating talking to you and listening to you. Before you go, I just want to go back to something that you mentioned earlier on, which was obviously a difficult time, which is when you were 9 and when the divorce happened.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to kind of like tear you open or anything on here and get you crying, but it is going through something like that. Do you feel, looking back with where you are today, that actually there's something in that divorce that has made you the person you are now? That is.
I think throughout my childhood, my parents separated, and I've got an older sister, and that hit Tally, yeah, amazing Tally, gorgeous Tally. He helped save me from being bullied. I was probably a bit too. I was 9. She was 12, so it hit. I think the separation hit her, and the eventual divorce hit her really hard, which then manifested and snowballed into a lot of mental health issues and, addiction. And so throughout her teenage years, I was very much in the background as the one that okay, Max is fine. We've got to make sure that Tal is okay. So I was therefore, I very much kept my head down. I very much right, just do your work, be the good boy, work hard, and it will all be fine. So that that was probably the main thing that I got from there, was the reaction that I then had from seeing my sister struggle in her teenage years and then reacting accordingly to that.
So keeping
the head down and just work, work hard.
Okay.
And things will come. I mean, again, that I had
that persistence.
It's the persistence.
The key word.
I knew the biggest thing for me is, again, I recognized this probably when I was 16. I had the family platform in the background that was so rock solid. The foundations were so rock solid for me to jump off and to do whatever I wanted. And my parents were very, very accommodating and supportive of do whatever you want.
So, I mean, you talk about the structure there and the foundations. Do you also mean love? Is it that loving?
Love, but mainly loads of money.
That's the new T-shirt. Forget choose love. Choose
loads of money.
Lots of cash.
Loads of it.
Yeah, okay.
So I knew that I could do if I could do anything, and and it wouldn't be the end of the world. And so I remember kind of having a conversation with myself, you need to work hard, because it would be such a waste if you've been given this opportunity and you don't seize it by the scruff of the neck and work hard and do things. Yes. And that's why I'm very proud. I am proud of myself of going into an industry where I had no connections.
I was going to say that for you, actually. I think that, you talked about there being the foundations and a structure there and a bit of a safety net, if you will. Yeah. I still think it's incredibly brave to pull yourself away from the road that most people were going down to do something that you really loved. And I always end by just asking whoever I'm talking to. I think, we look at the kind of the hardest parts of what we've discussed. I think for me, just listening to you is that, well, boarding school, but more to kind of broaden it, feeling left out and feeling not part of the rest of everyone at school.
Yeah.
What would your advice to be to that person watching now? Then we might have some young viewers that feel like that, and what would you say to them that might inspire them to help them get to somewhere like you are?
Biggest thing is your school years and your university years, and when you're young, it's fail, do everything, try everything, and it's going to go wrong, and that's brilliant. Like, I did radio, I played sport, I did drama, I was kind of in the, you know, all the chess club. I did everything.
Yeah.
And being able to then fail and do things meant that, because when you're in your 20s, the stakes are so much higher. So when you leave like university, you're like, oh, I think I want to be a stand-up comedian. You've got responsibilities, you've got, you know, money and the mortgage, not mortgage, you've got rent and, you know, food and bills. But when you're at kind of at school or at uni, there is that opportunity really just kind of carte blanche to try as many things as possible. So, you know, really lean into the things that you want to do, because you never know what it's going to, like, YouTube wasn't a job when I was at school. It didn't exist. So there might be something that happens in the future that means that you can, you know, monetize it and make it your job.
So in one word, fail.
Yeah, fail. Fail.
Max.
And have loads of money.
And have loads of what? Max, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for being so open with me. It's been a joy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's like Paxman.
There you have it. I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you did, please drop a comment, give us a like, hit follow, and don't forget to let us know who you want to see on the pod next. See you next time.